So, after betrayal, trauma, or your partner cheating, when you go out, are you triggered when you see other women who are beautiful? Are in that amount of emotional pain, it's very easy that after your partner has said, I will do the work, and you're trying to make things work, or even if you've decided to separate, that going from that point out, you will see other women who are beautiful differently. You will start to compare yourselves to them, especially as you age and get older, and you start to notice your skin is sagging, your breasts are sagging, or skin's not as tight as where it was, or maybe you're gaining weight in places that you just hate. And you start to take yourself apart in front of the mirror, comparing it to these women that your partner was lusting after on social media, OnlyFans girls, etc. And I see a lot of women who have done this even before OnlyFans came out. I'm going to share a little bit of my story as being the woman on the other side who was constantly pulled apart and attacked because I made older women jealous. So I grew up in this cult called ATIA IBLP that took this to the extreme, where women were a stumbling block to men and they were to clothe themselves and hide themselves, be modest, but these were the things that they basically raised young girls up as. We wore skirts down to our ankles. We wore shirts that never showed our shoulders. We had shirts that always covered up to here, never wore writing across the front of our outfits. Some people even took it to the extreme of wearing head coverings. And this cult was massive. I'm really surprised a lot of people don't know about it. Hundreds of thousands of that families were in this. We had people, headquarters in Russia, in Korea. Start to get where this is going. But then there were some in Arkansas, Michigan, Chicago, which is where I actually met David. That's a whole nother story. And a few other places. This was a international, huge ministry, but it was a homeschool organization. I was a big part of that. I actually worked with the CEO, or however you want to call him, Bill Gothard. I worked underneath Bill Gothard for a long time. So I was very up close and personal with this viewpoint. And so these women, I've always been somewhat pretty and I've always been big chested. And these women would come up to me and not even ask, just come up to me and start pinching my shirt to make sure it was 2 inches away from my skin, to make sure, because that was the dress code. I had one woman lift up my skirt all the way to my thigh in the middle of a session to make sure I was wearing pantyhose. I had a woman yell at me in a lobby and tell me that I looked like a whore, or that I looked like a slut, and that my outfit was defrauding men. I had my dad at one point tell me to go upstairs and get redressed because I looked like a whore and I was wearing a skirt and shirt that day. And so this is to the extreme of where we take this. This almost like it's a truly the extreme opposite version of feminism, and can really lean into a misogynistic point of view. But women can actually fall into this very, very quickly. And it develops this hatred towards other women, because they can't control that their men have a lust problem, right? They can't control that their men are out there looking at other women. And so in order to try and control their environment, they start attacking younger, pretty women. And because they're triggered by them. And so this is one of the things that I really recommend, that if you go to therapy and try to work on this for yourself, because it's still to this day, one of the most traumatizing things for me, to have gone through that and to be on the opposite end of an attack from sometimes hundreds of women working, and to be told to go back and change, or go back and cover up, or hide myself. And so for many years, I learned to be quiet and to cover myself and hide myself, because I was so scared of causing another man to stumble. And you know what? They still did. There were so many times that I was sexually objectified and lusted over and touched inappropriately and told inappropriate things because of these men. And so it didn't matter that I was covered up. It didn't matter if I didn't wear makeup or if my hair wasn't nice. These men still chose to lust. You can't control a man who doesn't want to work on himself. You can't convince him or try to shield him from all the beautiful young women in the world. There are beautiful young women in this world, but they're human beings. the OnlyFans girls, they're human beings. And so it's so important that as they are doing the work to humanize women and see that they have souls and spirits and personalities and families and kids, possible future partners that they're going to be married to, these people are human beings. And what hurts me the most about lust is that it not only affects men to look at women as objects for their own sexual pleasure, it makes women, it develops this deep, deep wound in women to where they start to do the same thing and look at women as only horrible, lustful creatures that are pulling their men away from them. And so I just, what's important is to love other people, is to be kind, to have courage and be kind, like Cinderella said. But like I've seen women on podcasts. I've seen like Nala recently went on a podcast and I think her name is Rachel Wilson, attacked her and was like, you can't have a ministry. You can't be doing out this. You can't be talking about Jesus. And Nala's like, I don't have a ministry. I'm literally just sharing my testimony. And there's such a hatred coming out of Rachel because it backfires everything that she believes in, that this cannot be the result of a young girl who's literally exhausted her body, giving it to probably thousands of men. And here she is living a life that she, quote unquote, doesn't deserve because she's caused men, I'm not going to say who, but she's caused men to lust after her. And I'm assuming when I say this, but the only time that I've ever seen that kind of hatred from another woman is when her husband has a lust